Well, good morning, YouTubers. I've been hesitant to talk about this for some time, but about the Fatima visions in Portugal and the prophecies connected with it. There had been the theory presented some years ago that this was actually a UFO visitation, and noticed some similarities. I couldn't get at the original theory book because it was in Portuguese in the time. And now, however, I got a hold of this book, Celestial Secrets, which is by Joaquin Fernandez and Fina Darmado. This is not a translation of the original. This is additional work. They were able to get at archives that had been locked away for 60 years, and all the interviews, interrogations, and so forth of everybody. And I have come to the conclusion that Fatima was probably not quite what the Roman Catholic Church made it out to be. Initially, the children did not consider they were seeing the Virgin Mary. Jacinta's father was described by his parish priest as overly religious to the point of being mentally ill, or words to that effect. Delusional, I think. The minute Jacinta tells her family about having seen this pretty little white lady, they say, well, it must be the Virgin Mary. Who else can it be? There was pressure all around. He's broadcasting the whole village. There was pressure all around to interpret it in this way. Lucia herself did not interpret it this way. It took a long time for this entity to get around claiming anything like this. The very fact that she was required to be there at a certain place for a certain number of visits on the 13th of the month and all that itself sounds like some kind of it just doesn't sound like the freedom, spontaneity, and not being chained so much to time and place that is more characteristic of visions they're recorded in the Bible or in the lives of some saints. And these visions, these visitations are few, and few in the life of the person who has them. You don't have this steady, ongoing thing. The the children initially, when they first saw her, she was wearing a short skirt up to the knees and earrings. Other visions, no. It was more dressed you would normally expect. Now, this outfit would be considered scandalous in those times. Not necessarily, however, in other locations of the world. It's almost as if something made a mistake. Now, you'd figure a demon would probably, unless they were trying to see what direction they could lead the kids in and saw the reaction that this was not, they weren't too happy with it, they might have changed its style. But overall, it looks more like an oops, almost like something either had made a mistake of the first sort I described, where they were hoping to lead the kids in some more obviously diabolical, licentious direction, or rebelling against social norms that could be then channeled into, not in the sense of channeling like New Age, but the rebellion could be directed, tracked into ways that would be destructive, harmful. Or it was an oops, because whatever appeared was used to dealing with people with a different dress code. Now, you would think the Virgin Mary would know better, right? So, and it didn't even claim to be her initially. This was an interpretation, it was practically forced on the kids and the situation. by the and by the priests and the populace. It's a small village. This kind of visitation, there's an area, the whole area is somewhat in the timing and the conditions of the soil, electromagnetic conditions, solar activity conditions. There seems to be some pattern to appearances in this whole larger geography of that part of Europe, including France, and also these the whole area is riddled with caves and so on, grottos that used to be part of pagan cults of some sort of false goddess, earth mother type of thing. Probably the more make nice form. The Lucia herself was worried that she might have some demonic deception going on. The three secrets contain nothing that couldn't be cobbled together, even whether it be the Vatican released version, which does not fit the events, because that version of the third secret has the bishop in white dying, and both bullets and arrows being shot, and many people dead, and part of sort of a persecution the church scene. Whereas what happened was one shooter, no arrows, a few bullets, one hit, but was blocked by something the Pope was wearing. Anyway, the deduced content from little slips and hints here and there from people who've seen it and people who talked to Lucia was more in the category of apostasy begins at the top in the church, and there would be great cataclysms and so on, perhaps involving earthquakes and tsunamis and so forth. Now, all of these materials, including what is openly in the first and second secret, particularly the first two, aren't anything that weren't characteristic of a good many of the Marian visions. They're visions of hell and then calls to repentance. The call to consecrate Russia, or it would be spreading its errors around the world, or there'd be big old wars. I mean, a really sharp observer could put that one together. I mean, let's assume that, and also certain characteristics of prayers and disciplines that she picked up. By the time she was describing these was after she had been a nun for a while, Lucia, and exposed to similar concepts and materials. Initially, she claimed she had no appearances before the little white lady, who appeared floating in the air above a holm oak. Always was this oak thing, and this had some, connection to pre-Christian stuff. The boy Francisco, however, saw a headless woman. Now, she said she'd seen nothing before all this. And then she suddenly began to remember the angelic visits that happened before. Now, when an angel appears, an angel of God, it's like, bam, it's there. It doesn't have to slowly build up energy, get your attention, feed off that attention. It doesn't run around like a shrouded figure in the distance and then gets closer over a period of episodes of seeing and then starts talking to you. It's operating in the power of God. It doesn't need to get life force or anything to help it. This is something else going on. And when this angel got to be strong enough to talk to them, and it gave them communion. A fluid was given to the others, but the bread or solid to Lucia, who was the one thereafter that had the primary contact in hearing and seeing. Francisco had the least responsiveness to this. He couldn't hear what was being said. He could see something was going on. And he was the one that first saw it as a headless woman floating out. What does this make sense in terms of legitimate vision? It's not. I think there's both human deception, maybe demonic deception, or alien deception. Certainly it would Either of the latter two could have some use for a focus on it. When people are doing the rosary and thinking in terms of quote Our Lady of Fatima, unquote, or quote Our Lady of some other place, unquote, they may be in some way unknowingly feeding entities that we're faking. What they should do is just focus on the Mother of God, the Mother of Christ. Just focus on that concept. Never mind connections to any particular location. The Theotokos, she's called in Eastern Orthodoxy. And what there was also a real zinger in all this. Before this happened, a year before this happened, I think, there were 2 advertisements taken out, or announcements made in newspapers, both of them from occultist, spiritualist sources, one of whom they got a hold of the channeled information was from one of these New Age ascended type entities that pretends to be an angelic thing or whatever, but it's clearly not. And in the statement, I think there's some heretical content. And these things, these people were announcing that on a particular date, there was going to be something monumental happen. And sure enough, on that date, that's when you have all these visions and stuff. That's not, I don't think that was the date of the dancing sun. That was more like, I think, the first appearance of the lady. The dancing sun, the buzzing sound that the kids heard, the apathy of the sheep, several other features, all, and the rainbow effect of light around the dancing sun, all of these are features that would be consistent with the UFO type technology involved in a deception for whatever purpose. Lucia was then whisked away into nunnitude and kept under an unusual degree of isolation. There's a very good case been made that it's possible she died and was replaced with someone else who was a close lookalike. They make a fairly good case for this. The shape of the head seems to have changed, and some other features about her teeth and so on. And gums, shape of the chin, and so on. Overall features, everything, thickness of the lips, and so on. Also, the kind of statements she made. All this is, so there was definitely something about the third secret that was worth digging into. Now, if it does concern planet Nibiru, again, demons or particularly aliens would certainly know that some disasters would be in the works because of that. This was supposed to be revealed in, I think, 1960. And the Pope at the time refused to do so, and all the others had until John Paul II. And then there's reasons to question whether, in fact, this is the secret she wrote down. It would seem that there's something severely wrong with this Fatima thing, and God, of course, can use anything to get someone to pay attention to him. A person could, if they get instruction about focus on the Jesus elements within the entire mysteries of the Rosary, which was not invented by and for Fatima. But the thing is, I think Catholics, Roman Catholics, should focus on the concept of Virgin Mary, Mother of God, Mother of Christ, Mother of God, and just leave out thinking about these various local manifestations that allegedly were made by her. Because just in case all or any of them were fraud, it's not good for you spiritually, and it may be of some unwholesome, for everybody, use being made by the energies drawn on by some entities or something.